We are here at the Big Rock Park. We're gonna hike the Custer Skywalk. And it's pretty steep, not too long, but fairly steep. We'll see if I can make it. And at the top, we have a surprise for you. Stay tuned.
Here we go. All we need is an open road and a chance to see a never-ending world that's beautiful. Here we go with the sunlight on our skin. It's a brand new day. It's ours to take and we will let it in. This is where the adventure begins.
So today I wanted to come to this Custer Skywalk nature trail, and so we started out, we ended up, we didn't get to Custer right. We ended up, so we drove.
Ask her why we didn't get to Custer.
I told him to turn around and go the other way. So we ended up, we drove through the wildlife loop, which is a very long drive. So we get to Custer.
100 degrees out in that prairie.
We get to Custer and he said, "Where's this park?" And I said, I don't know. So we were riding on the bike through downtown Custer and he said, "Oh, I need to stop and get a bottle of water," which we had water in the cooler in the bike. So I said, "Well, don't stop here in the sun, find a shady spot." So we pull up and we park, and I look over and I said, "There's Custer Skywalk. We're right here at it." So
she actually said I done good, so miracles still do happen, but she didn't get that on camera and you won't hear it come out of her mouth.
So we got to walk the trail anyway, even though we're lost. We don't know where we are. We need Kathy and Don here because Kathy was our guide. Coming pretty straight up, aren't we?
Yeah.
I sure do love you. We on top of this mountain by ourselves, baby.
You can always tell when she wants something.
I need your arm.
Yeah.
To pull me up these steps.
Oh, if Bridget could make it 3,000, I could make it 300. She made it 30.
Joseph, we do have the water. I wonder if there's any bears up here. I hope not, because we don't have no bear spray. Today, while we're here on this mountain, Ricky thought it would be a good time for him to give his testimony of when he was injured over 30 years ago at Vulcan Materials Rock Quarry in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Well, good morning, or it may be afternoon. We are in Custer in South Dakota. My wife has told you in the past that at some point I'd give my testimony at least of one accident, maybe two, maybe three. Some people would say I'm accident prone. I don't like to look at it that way. It's just sometimes maybe I'm not afraid when I should be. But in October the 20th, 1990, I was involved in an accident at work. The Lord has given us a good cool breeze right now. But I was involved in an accident at work. I was the foreman at the time. We had an old Mack truck that we used for a water truck, and the old truck was shot, but we had a square 4-ton tank on it that we pulled up on the A-frame, and anyway, we didn't have enough room to slide it completely out of the way. But when we picked it up, we blocked it up actually just on one side, and noticed that we had left some lines on that went to the pump. So me and another guy by the name of Skeeter, which was the welder at the time, climbed down there to get the lines undone. So we had it lifted up off the frame rail and maybe a foot. Anyway, we climbed down there, undone the lines, and he had climbed out, and I was in the process of climbing out, and the chain broke, and it fell to one side. My hand was, evidently I had my hand up on the frame rail of the truck. It mashed my thumb off, and my face hit the back of the cab and broke my nose on both sides. I got a temple bone fracture. Anyway, the mechanic Mike Bible was outside. He come running in, and I'd taken my coat off, and all he could see on the frame of the A-frame was a coat, so he immediately thought someone was under it. But thankful Skeeter wasn't hurt. But like I said, I mean, my face was mashed and my thumb was mashed off, and the last thing that I saw before my eyes completely went shut was I folded my hand over, my thumb over in the palm of my hand. At that time I had two brothers that worked with me, my two youngest brothers. Just forgive me a minute. Since that time, they have both passed away. But my youngest brother didn't come in that day. My dad had had a stroke several years before, and anyway, he just didn't come in that day. But my brother Lewis was running the plant, and he knew something was going on. They wouldn't tell him how bad I was hurt. He actually thought that I was smashed dead. So our plant had what they call an E-stop, which is obviously an emergency stop. If you hit that button, it just totally shuts it down. He was running the plant. Well, he didn't ask any questions or anything. He just hit the E-stop, which obviously makes a lot of work afterwards, and come running to the shop. Anyway, I got out, and ambulance was just right at the end of the quarry. Had another good friend. Maybe this is why I haven't done this up till now. But anyway, his dad was the superintendent, and that's actually how Rickey's actually how I wound up working in the quarry, and that's the story in itself. His dad didn't much want to give me the job because I had long hair, and you know, one of them freaky people need not apply. But I didn't stick my hair up under my hat. But anyway, his office was just right up the road from us, and he come flying in, and I couldn't see him, but I could hear him. And he rode with me in the ambulance to the emergency room there in Clarksville. They had run me through the CAT scan, you know, and all that good stuff, and I was so beat up that they didn't want to couldn't take care of me in Clarksville, so they were going to send me to Vanderbilt. They had strapped me on a board, and there again I couldn't see, but I could still hear and feel and all that good stuff. It happened about, I don't know, 9 o'clock in the morning. Anyway, I got to the emergency room, and they were checking me out, and they had got a hold of my wife and our youngest son at the time. Of course, there again, not to go back to things in the past, but I'd been hurt and mashed a bit, and they just told Denise that I had mashed my thumb. But when she got to the hospital, she said she knew that they hadn't told her the whole story because all the guys from work was just standing around outside. But anyway, my mom got there, and I had a cut on the back of my head, and somebody was rubbing my head, and I said, "Who's rubbing my head?" And she said, "It's me, baby." I said, "Well, Mama, don't rub me back there. I'm cut back there." And the nurse said, "No, son, you just broke up in the front." I said, "No, I've got a cut in the back." Anyway, my mother was very frustrated because there was an ambulance outside the door, but it wasn't their turn to go to Nashville. And she, like I said, my mother was a small lady, but when she got upset, you knew she was there. But anyway, during that time, I had swallowed a lot of blood, and I told them that I needed, you know, that I was about to throw up. So it took 3 or 4 of them, like I say, I'm still strapped on this board, to turn me up on the side. So basically I didn't drown in my own blood. But at that time, the EMT had got there, and the other ambulance had gotten there to take me to Nashville. And when he put me in the ambulance, of course, there again, I couldn't see him, but I could hear him. And he told me, he said, I got to be honest with you. He said, if it had been just me and you a while ago, he said, I don't know that I would have been able to get you turned over before you drowned in your own blood. That being said, God's always in control when you don't think He is. And when we're frustrated at times, He knows what's coming next. So they got me loaded up in the ambulance and sent me to Nashville, to Vanderbilt. And of course, they run me through everything again. I call it the tube, but they run me through another CAT scan. And by that time, I mean, it was later on in the afternoon, 3 or 4 o'clock, and Hadn't given me anything for pain because of my head injury, and I was screaming. I was in such pain. I said, just cut it off and, get me out of this misery. But there were 2 students that were there, and I'll never forget. I couldn't see them, but they told me, they said, in the morning when we get off shift, we're coming up to see you. And they did. I don't know why to this day, but saying all that, of course, I was in Vanderbilt for over a month. I don't even remember his name now, but there was a new doctor that sewed my places up on my face in the emergency room there at Vanderbilt, but they had all still missed this place that was on the back of my head. And we'd gotten back to the room. My brother Mike was there, but anyway, they were washing my head off, and my hide just, pulled up off of my scalp pulled up, so they all spazzed out. But anyway, they got this doctor to come back in, and he wound up sewing it up in the room. And there's a long story behind all of that, but he was kind of cocky, so when I told his nurses, they said, we are certainly glad you told us that, because we'll use that against him, because he's always telling us how good he is. But saying all that, I had a flap made. They cut me on my hip, and I call it just as far south as they go. They peeled it up and sewed me on the top, and I went home actually with my arm, and it goes right back there. It's been 30 years later. I went home with my arm sewed to my side. Of course, at that time, I didn't look like the Pillsbury doe to start with, but I weighed 145 pounds when I went in the hospital. I weighed like 130 when I come out. Looked like a scarecrow. One other thing, and we just drove by one, but there was I got a gentleman coming, but there was a pizza. I love Pizza Hut, thin and crispy pizza. That's the first thing we stopped and ate when we was on the way home. But that was over 30 years ago. Several years ago, I fell off a barge on New Year's Eve, and the Lord got me through all that as well. That's a miracle in itself, and maybe someday I'll give that testimony. But I'm so thankful.
Your legs.
I also got, I can actually put it up, but scar on my leg where I walked behind, got up on me. That's a story in itself as well. Lord has been awful good to me and kept me. And sometimes I ask the question why. But there's a reason for everything. During these times at the hospital, I met people. There was one young black man that was saved in the room, or African American, who was saved in the room with us, and or led him to the Lord. But those are the kind of things that you don't never forget. The second time I was there with my leg, there was a nurse that was about to go on a missionary trip, and the Lord used me to speak to her as well. But just saying all this, I'm so thankful, shouldn't be alive. But there's a reason that I am, and hopefully I continue to do what the Lord wants me to do and fulfill what He's left me here for. But the other two stories, they're kind of lengthy. We'll tell you at another time. See you.
After the accident, he was off work for a year, and he had 12 surgeries during that time. Well, God has certainly been good to us. We're very blessed, and He's still blessing us. And we just thank you for joining our channel.
right here on this ground where we are standing, holding dreams with open hands against the sky. So clear, it's better than we planned it. This rising sun was meant for you and I. We see it now, the story comes together. Beauty lives in every chapter. We feel it now, nothing could be better. You and me, chasing down forever after. This truth, these words that we have spoken, giving purpose to the hope that we have found. There's proof in the days that lay before us, finding meaning in these moments playing out. We see it now, the story comes together. Beauty lives in every chapter.
So you left out a lot of your testimony. What did you leave? What parts did you leave out?
About how good the nurses were to me while we were there. Matter of fact, you took care of me so good that I accidentally hit the button one day. We had never hit the button, and the nurse come running down the hall to see what was the matter, because she said, y'all don't ever push the button. So I figured something was wrong. Met some awesome people during that time. Had a lot of surgeries afterwards. Almost a year. It was 11 months before I was able to go back to work. A lot of hard days, but there again, I can still hold my wife. I can still ride a motorcycle. Even went back and became a maintenance man. Imagine that. But there again, Lord's been awful good to me, and He's also allowed me to preach the good news of the gospel. And somebody asked me the other day about pastoring, and anyway, you know, there's been so many rewarding things in that.
Like and subscribe so you don't miss us on our journey as we're soaring together.
You and me, chasing down forever after. The story comes together. Beauty lives in every chapter.